Welcome to Soul to Soul Conversations. I am Satori Seals, operating as your soul guider from the Living Soul Guidance Numerology system for this podcast. In support of mental health and emotional stability, make sure to text 1-833-475-0111 and type inner calm. This is one of our popular herbal drops that can help you calm, help you deal with anxiety, help you, relax you. And it's actually from the Wisdom Therapeutic brands. To support this show, the Soul to Soul Conversations, and to join our movement and also to receive alerts, also text the exact same number, 1-833-475-0111. But this time you will type with a capital SOUL, number 2, capital SOUL, which is Soul to Soul. So I want to kind of get into, I know it's been a couple of days since we kind of chopped it up here on this podcast space. And I know last episode I mentioned about Nelly and Ashanti, and I'm going to get into Nelly and Ashanti. We're going to do a couple shows on that because it's very interesting. I think some good insights to bring out from the living soul to show us some things about Ashanti and Nelly and the celebration of their reunion and of their coming child. So, but in the meanwhile, I want to speak to this transition from April to May, since we're in May now. And I just want to speak to life. I know people are going through a lot of things. People are dealing with a lot of challenges and so forth. So I just feel it's a duty of myself to maybe speak and maybe provide some hope. During my meditation, there were some things that was coming to me personally. And also I was kind of, just looking through the living soul and looking at the numbers. And there were some interesting things that jumped out for the month of May. So I feel very moved today to share that. So today is going to be kind of like an energy forecast for you. And you can kind of take it and apply it, or you can sit back and maybe observe and see how you can recognize some of these things are playing out. Okay? So with that in mind, let's kind of get into this. Now, there's one thing that we all know about life. We all know that we're going to face challenges. We all know that we're going to face obstacles. We all know, unfortunately, that we might experience some heartbreaks. We might be disappointed. There might be times in life where we might possibly feel hopeless. Okay? And the reality is, everything in life may not go our way, but we can find a way through it. And I'm gonna say that again, because a lot of times we can get consumed in what's going on that's not favoring what we want for ourselves and lose sight that even though things are happening and it's not going our way, we can find a way through it. So sometimes it's important for us to remind ourselves or hear someone else to remind us of that. Everything's not going to go our way. Everything's not going to be defined according to how you want it, but we can find our way through it. And this is what I love about the Living Soul Numerology Soul Guidance System, because it provides guidance and it can give hope when things may feel heavy or may appear bleak. You can kind of look towards the living soul and kind of extract some insights from that, and then begin to just yield to maybe some of the intuitive revelations or some things that just jumps out and try and begin to use that as a base to work through wherever those challenges may be. Okay. And that's one of the benefits when you have a living soul specialist that you can kind of bounce off of, on a month-to-month basis or whatever, because they kind of can point out and show some things that's going on energetically to help you kind of navigate through when those rough patches come in life. Okay, so like I said before, today I want to deal with the energy forecast for the month of May, because there's a lot of hope available energetically this month. And you might some of you, if you're sensitive spiritually, you might know when we shifted from April to May, there seemed to kind of be, despite what's ever going on in your life, but underneath it all, there seems to be a pull to pull you to get more clear. There seems to be a pull to make you become more centered, or to try to find your balance, or to get your footing again. There seems to be a pull to uncover truth. There seems to be a pull to for you to maybe initiate some things. Your self-determination becomes a little more activated. You feel like, you know what, there's some things I gotta make happen. I'm not letting this shit take me down. I'm gonna plow through whatever the obstacle is. There's a pull in this, in May, that's pulling at us. And the most important thing I wanna talk about is that, or mention, is that in this month, there is a pull to reconcile things, reconcile relationships, reconcile your nutritional habits, reconcile, you might have disappointed yourself in the path that you're on. But the end of the day is reconciliation this month is real important, because oftentimes we move forward, especially inside relationships, with infractions, and we do not take time to reset or to try to mend or to come to a space of understanding, and we give those infractions more power than they need to have inside a relationship and over us as we're moving forward. So uniquely, the energy that's going on in the month of May is going to bring us into it at different times, and it's going to be at heightened times. So I want y'all to notate that there are heightened times this month where it's going to make you visit where you have these infractions at. Some you might even forget about, some you're not even thinking about, but the energy is going to just prick and prod at these infractions, especially inside relationships, to get you to visit them, to possibly bring about reconciliation, or to rebalance them, or to get clear. But there's something that's really, it's uniquely what this energy is going to, that is doing. And so if I wanted to title what I'm talking about today, I would title it as Harmonizing Through Life Challenges. Harmonizing Through Life Challenges. Now, as I get into this energy forecast, I'm going to talk about these energy clouds. And this energy cloud is a harmony cloud, what I call a harmony cloud. Now, when I begin to describe the harmony cloud, it may sound juxtaposed to the title of a harmony cloud, because there is tension inside the harmony cloud, okay? But there's a purpose for the tension. And so I want to get into that, because uniquely is that the tension, I mentioned in the last episode, but uniquely what has happened when we move from April into May, we're recognizing in the numbers, okay, through the numbers, that is showing us that tension relief is available. But the tension relief is available, but is not exempt. All right. What I'm saying is the tension relief is available, but is not designed to continue. Okay, so it's exempt from continuing. So this is the month, the energy is available to maybe cancel some of these tension cycles, some of these difficulties, some of these stressors that we have going in our lives. Is like, this is the month to either set the attention or to address it or to reconcile it. But the end of the day it is to allow this tension that's here to get addressed. And then the other side of the tension is where the harmony is going to appear. So basically we have to face the tension, face the challenge, face the difficulty, face the stressor. And when we begin to do that, there is going to be a level of harmony that will be availing itself to us and will be rolling over through with us throughout the rest of the year. Okay. And there's certain moments, key heightened moments during this month where these harmony clouds do exist. Again, I know I say a harmony cloud, but the harmony cloud sits upon the tension but it's sitting upon the tension because it's time to address the stressors, the challenges, or the complexities that's got you overwhelmed, so that way you can get and transition to the other side of it and experience the harmony. Okay. Envision, I know yesterday it was hot, it started getting muggy. And y'all know, like, before it the thunder starts to come and the lightning begins to strike, if you pay attention, a lot of times it's stuffy, it's muggy, and we can make that symbolic of the stress we're dealing with. We can make that symbolic of the challenge we're facing. It's like it's bogging us down. There's a lot coming at us all at once. Surprise, things are just blindsiding us. We didn't even see it coming. And we have all these things happening at the same time. And it's bearing on the ego aspect of us. In other words, our sun archetype position is just putting a lot of pressure there. And so the pressure keeps building up, and then all of a sudden, because the universe, the economy, or the law of the universe moves towards balance. It's always moving towards balance, beloved. Always moving towards balance. And so in that move towards balance, the thunderstorm begins to manifest and the lightning begins to appear and strike. And once all that begins to occur, and once it's done, it seems to be a calm, an ease. It seems we're able to breathe a lot easily and clear, and it feels like there's a reset. And this is what the month of May, this is what the energy is providing for us. And this month, I'm sorry I didn't mention it sooner, but this month is overseen by the Soul Liberator. The Soul Liberator archetype oversees May as the number 5. Okay, within inside the living soul, numerology, soul guidance system. Okay, and so the Soul Liberator is active this month. Now, what is interesting, when I talk about these harmony clouds, there are 3 windows where these harmony clouds is more pronounced, more active. Okay, and again, remember, the harmony cloud exists, but it's sitting upon the tension, because the intention is to relieve the tension, to move us to harmony. Some of us are not getting to the flow that we need in our life because we're not addressing the tension. The tension is not going to die on its own. We're going to have to initiate actions. Okay, and this is where the Soul Liberator is very known. A very strong characteristic of the Soul Liberator is self-determination. There's a level of self-determination. There's a fire element actually inside the Soul Liberator. It's not passive. It's not a passive archetype at all. It's a very balancing archetype, but it's very active to get to that balance. It's very active to get to the truth. It's very active to initiate a cause that benefits the whole. And so this energy is highly strong and highly available. So if you're someone that has a 5 in your chart, you're definitely probably feel this balancing part, but yet this balance drive to make some stuff happen, right? Okay. And so like myself, I actually have 2 5s, so I feel a lot. I feel a lot of the energy as we speak, especially last week. I know I was very active. I was trying to be very active, and all of a sudden it was like I was going against the current, the flow of the day, not intentionally, but I was just trying to make some things happen. I had a project that I was trying to, just to work on and get done with. And so I had all these things set in my mind, but the energy just was moving a different direction. And basically, when I looked at, my chart and looked at the month, I saw the alignments where I was like, oh, it was just like, yo, you don't have to force anything. And I want to share to everybody this month, yet we need to initiate, but we don't need to really force our will. We're just initiating, in other words, to take action and do what's according to what's available to make it happen. But we're not, so we're not to be passive with the stress, but we need to be active, but flow with it's available in reference to what needs done, not based on the current activity, but what needs done. And because what needs done is reflecting the truth, like, yo, this needs to be addressed. So the energy is like, yo, it's time to move forward, initiate, exercise your self-determination to make that happen. Okay, so there are three basic harmony clouds that are that exist. And basically, when we talk about these harmony clouds, what we're doing is we're identifying the conjunction sequences with the numbers inside the month to help us see a particular pattern that when we put the patterns together and when we begin to calculate the energy positions based off of the masculine, the androgynous and feminine, then the dominant, neutral, and submissive position, also in line with the assigned soul archetypes that are at play, that are involved in that mix, we begin to pull out some interesting things. And of course, out of the living soul, there's almost like an oracle message that comes forward. So what I'm kind of doing is bringing forth that oracle message that's kind of coming forward from what the numbers are showing us. And this is why I titled it Harmonizing Through Life Challenges. Okay, so the first, and we look right now, we're actually in the first one, and actually about to come out of that cloud, and that's from May 4th through the 8th. And then the second cloud is going to occur May 13th through the 17th. And then the third cloud is going to happen from May 22nd through the 26th. So let me report that again if y'all taking notes. These are the harmony clouds. And this is where it's going to be heightened. So the reason why I say it's kind of juxtaposed by me titling it as a harmony cloud is because you're not going to feel the harmony first, per se. You're going to feel the tension. You're going to feel the tension maybe more elevate, but underneath the tension, you're going to feel like this sense of balance, like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to deal with this. It's kind of like that type of demeanor that you're probably going to have. And it's just that's exactly what it is. It's these harmony cloud because we got to face the tension to get over to the harmonization side. And there's three different heightened times this month. And it's based off of the conjunction numerical patterns that we identify for this month to help us to see through. So the hope is that all the stresses and challenges that's pressing at you is able to be relieved once we exercise our self-determination to deal with it head on. Okay, so I got some other good things, so stay with me on this. Okay, and so basically, if you want to reroute anything in your life right now, or want to reroute some things energetically, this is a great time to really start the process of doing that from a practical sense. Okay, so again, these harmony clouds, the first harmony cloud is occurring, and we're going to come through this one. It's from May 4th through the 8th. The second one is May 13th through the 17th. The third one is from the May 22nd through the 26th. And I'm gonna tell y'all personally, right at the beginning of the first cloud, I had a personal situation. And again, it was exactly what happened. The tension was there. But the beautiful thing about it is once certain things were addressed, there was just a level of understanding, a level of clarity, a level of peace. And I think there was a restoration of understanding our roles in this life and, our roles, that how we can mix, how we can help each other in whatever we're trying to do. Sometimes misunderstandings can kind of get in the way, y'all, and it can hinder how people are moving in life. There's a part of us that we need to be independent, but there's another part of us that we have to recognize that we are also interdependent. So sometimes along our journeys, there are people that we need to be interdependent with us in order to fulfill the mission at hand. And so for me personally, it was just, I have a lot of people I'm, connected to, but it was just a scenario where nothing major. It was just a scenario where there was some misunderstanding, but we quickly was able to identify what was going on. But it was tense because we were initially responding to the the visible, what we consider the visible misunderstanding, and we both was in our own personal positions. So once we surrendered from our positions, we was able to see from each other's angle and was able to now get to the point of tension, so that way we could really see what the real reality or the truth was going on, and then we was able to rectify and reconcile a lot of different things. So, and that was in the first cloud. So, and I didn't see it coming, it just came. So just let you know, energy just has its way to move, you know. So I just want to share that even though I'm delivering this, I also experience certain things in my personal life and see and witness some of these things operating and acting. And you know, and I always have been paying attention for, you know, the last several years in terms of how these archetypes and these energy positions and these changes begin to occur from a numerical standpoint, which is very interesting, which is why I love, you know, sharing about the Living Soul Numerology Soul Guidance System, because there's a lot of benefit, a lot of insights that you can gain to help you understand yourself, understand other people, understand situations, understand the spiritual aspect of life, understand the metaphysics behind life. I mean, it just opens a lot of different things for us. So let me get back to what I'm saying. I know I kind of went on a tangent there. So here's what's going on. I talk about we're in the month of May. We know the Soul Liberator oversees the month of May, and it's represented as the number 5. Okay, the number 5 in itself is a very balancing number anyways, okay, energetically. So the Soul Liberator operates from that space. The Soul Liberator is under the domain of, freedom and truth. So it has this strong emanation about it, all right, but yet it's neutral, so you might not feel the strength of it until it emanates that strength. You're like, ooh. So very unique soul archetype. But all the soul archetypes are unique themselves, but this one just has a difference to it because there's a softness to it, but yet there's a hardness to it. But it's not a inflicting or a demeaning hardness, or it's just when it's necessary, it can be hard, and when necessary, it can be soft. It just knows how to dance. It's very balanced. It knows how to dance between the hard and the soft. And sometimes it just thrives and moves in that manner. Okay, so, and also understand, like I said, if I haven't mentioned, the Soul Liberator is also an androgynous neutral archetype. So the gender energy position associated with the Soul Liberator is an androgynous neutral energy position, just for clarity. Okay, so we already know about these 3 different heightened times of the harmony clouds. So when we talk about the number 5, we know this year is the year of number 8. Okay, and so what's interesting on that macro level inside this calendar, in the numbers that we're looking at, is that actually the 8 and 5 shares a tension gravity with each other. Okay, so that's why the tension is present, but there's a purpose behind it. Okay, and so from that there's a tension gravity. Now, interesting, within the Living Soul system, when we start looking at the houses, the 5 takes a position under the synergy house. Under the synergy house. So when we look at synergy, we talk about group efforts, collective partnerships, right? Relationships. There's a unifying element in synergy, working together, teamwork, etc. So the 5 takes position this year under the synergy house. And so, like I said, that deals with so it's highlighting and it's bringing a lot of energy this month to relationships, okay, to group efforts. It could be business partnerships. It can be, siblings, rivalry, anything dealing with a group or a interconnective activity or responsibility or a level of engagement. The synergy house is fully at play, okay? And so the synergy house is very active with the 5, which is the Soul Liberator. So the Soul Liberator is taking that on in position. And so what's really being highlighted, as I mentioned before, is the tension, but the tension is being highlighted because it wants to challenge anything that's hindering the group from being efficient and being consistent. Because interesting, the synergy house is subject up under consistency and efficiency as a domain that oversees that house. So anywhere in our relationship where it seems to be inefficient, or it seems to be inefficient, or things are not consistent, or even some things that might not have a corresponding structure to allow that partnership to exist, the energy available this month is going to bring tension to that head on. So it's going to amplify at different times, and at 3 different times this month. Like I said, we're already entering out one of the first clouds right now, from the May 4th through the 8th, but there's another cloud coming from the 13th through the 17th, and there's another cloud after that following that from the 22nd through the 26th. Okay, and so it's going to really just bring some things to that. All right, and so in that, what you're going to realize is, and what you're probably going to experience, is the personal frustrations. So during these 3 different clouds, there's a higher chance where you might witness others, you might witness yourself. Of course, depending on your living soul profile in terms of your 4 numbers that's assigned to you. But the personal frustrations will be more prominent during these times, and they're showing up for one main purpose. These personal frustrations are being amplified or being conjured up through tension, through stress, because ultimately what the universe is trying to do energetically with the supreme spirit of life, what it's trying to do for us is to clear our ego from stress. This month is a tension relief of the stressors that's stressing our personhood, our ego. Okay, and because of that, so that's directly tied to what? Mental health. So we know that stress is not good for mental health. There's an old maxim that says the tranquil mind gives life to the flesh, or gives life to the body. So the mental state has a direct correlating effect upon our physical health. And so there's also a medicinal energy or a medicinal assistance to bring balance. That's why the balancing factor is very important during this month, is because the more your body is back at balance, the more it's able to have homeostasis, the more your health is able to be sustainable at a very optimal level, in a very improved state, or renewed or restored state. That's what balance really does. So there's a lot that's going on right here. This is why the energy is like, yo, the cosmos is like, hey, man, deal with this tension right here. Deal with this stressor right here. It no longer needs to exist. Stop the cycle of it. So that way you can reroute it and move more in a more self-determined state, move more in a space of clarity. So that way you can go ahead and expand or achieve or whatever you need to do that's available. Anything that's of harmony, you can move forward in it. You're not going to be able to move forward of it if you have the lingering stressors and tension. I'm going to say it again. Some of the things that we're trying to accomplish and get done, or some things we desire to happen, is not going to happen as long as we keep the stressors active. We got to cancel the stressors this month, where we got to set the attention. All of them might not get canceled this month, but you're putting it, you're identifying it, and you're going to address it, and you're going to start doing the actions and the practices that need to be done in order to reroute, so you can get past the stressor and get to the harmony. It's available. It's available for you. Okay? So, with all that, I know I said a lot right there. So, despite their personal challenges, it's kind of funny, because when you feel like you need to be frantic this month or very disturbed, you're going to feel like this inner unction inside of you that feels not bothered. And if you've already been feeling that already this month, like, I know all this shit is going on, but I'm not bothered. That's letting you know that the soul liberator is bubbling strong in you and through you and upon you. Because the soul liberator is the epitome of being calm in the storm. Okay? So in this month, so let me bring some practical things right here. So I mentioned the tension relief. So there's gonna be a lot of pressure relief that's available this month. Those of you that have these numbers in your soul profile are definitely probably going to be able to feel, especially during certain heightened times, a pressure relief, right? It might come through being prompted to deal with personal frustrations, but you're gonna feel this level of ooze come over you of pressure relief, tension relief. Okay, if you have a 3 in your profile, you're going to be able to experience a pressure relief. So basically, if you have a 3, a 1, a 9, a 7, or a 5, okay, you're going to be able to experience a nice high degree of pressure relief energetically. Now, those with the 5, to keep in mind, the 5 is in conjunction. So depending on how many 5s you might have in your profile, it's going to depend on how you're acting on your will if you're going to be able to receive that pressure relief. So either the pressure relief can be overly available and overwhelming in a good way, or it could be on the other side where you're now, you might be experiencing more tension, okay, in your sun archetypes, in your ego space, or whatever your 5 is lined up at. So the 5 could be lined up emotionally, right? It could be lined up with your ego, or from your space of stability in the earth. So in other words, your 5 can be placed either under the earth archetype, under the moon archetype, or the sun archetype, or it could be up under the soul or living soul archetype. Okay, so wherever that 5 is placed, it can receive a high level of tension relief, but at the same time is how you're acting upon your will, flexing your self-determination is going to dictate if you're going to have this overwhelming of this flow of harmony coming upon you, or you can shift yourself into intensifying the pressure. So that's the 5. So that applies to me and many of you that has 5s in their chart. I have more than 1 5 in my chart. So, but I'm definitely exercising my self-determination in terms of just yielding. And it's been a very good flow, very good groove for myself this month, but like I did mention, I did have a scenario at the beginning of the first cloud, but it was needed. It was dope. It was healing. It was a great understanding, and that so it was necessary. Okay, so the 3, the 1, the 9, the 7, and the 5 is open to receive a nice pressure relief. Now, the archetypes that might feel more pressure, if you have these in your chart, I know I mentioned the 9 because the 9 relationship with the 9 to the 5, there's a harmony there. But the 5 to the 9, there is a imbalanced gravity position that they share with each other. So the 9 can experience some more pressure. All right, so on one end it might not, another end it might. It just depends, kind of everyone's situation is different, but the 9 is not exempt this month from having more pressure, but the 9 is also available for more pressure relief. Okay, so the 8 as well is under more. If you have an 8 in your chart, there's probably more pressure, more tension that you might be working through that's highlighted for you. But these are things, like I said, we got to address it. So you might feel more of that tension, but you got to address it. You got to self-reflect and look like, do I have to hold this position, or can I be a little more flexible? So a lot of that might be going on especially with the eights, the eights, and then also the number 2. So the 9, 8, and 2 this month may experience more of that personal frustrations being heightened, more of these tension. So when these different clouds come, the heightening of the tension might be even more stronger. And this also includes the 5 too, because you can put the 5 there. It might be a little more intense, but again, it's not for you to stay parked there. It's for you to move through in harmony. You just have more to work through than necessary. Maybe people, the 3s, the 1, the 7, 9, or the 5 in there. Okay. So what is it? So the 9, more likely, if you have a 9 in your chart, you probably are holding strong to a sense of everything has to be known. It has to be defined. It has to be black and white. So if you think about it, if you're feeling a lot of pressure and you got 9s in your chart, the gray areas in life are probably bothering the hell out of you. And it's going to get amplified. It's going to get instigated energetically with you this month. Okay? So this is not a good month for you to deal with ambiguity, but you got to face it. So those y'all with 9s in your chart, the ambiguities, you're going to have to embrace them, work through them, and accept ambiguities as a part of life. Okay? Everything cannot be black and white, and you cannot control it. Okay? The 8s, you're probably the biggest battle between the 8s is conformity. The 8 is very communicative, so we already know in nature there's probably miscommunication that can come up, and misaligned motivations and conformity. So these are some areas. So you're trying to maintain a status quo for the sake of gaining additional resources and etc. You're going to be in tension with the 5, because the 5 is going to challenge that motivation in you. Okay. And then also the conformity piece. Remember, the soul liberator is about freedom. It's about truth. So there's a strong resistance about the soul liberator to conform to things that doesn't do the soul well. So sometimes the 8 might find itself compromising things that's not beneficial for its soul or for the others. Okay. And so the 5 is going to really challenge that to make sure it holds it in a level of integrity. So no, you should not conform to this action, this behavior, or to this plot. So if the 8 is kind of going with certain narratives and not really trying to shake it, you're probably going to feel those areas of conformity in your life where you need to non-conform. It's going to be a problem. So areas of conformity in your life, all the 8s, where you have conformity, things you're conformed to, and you're locked in position and you're gaining from it, you're probably gonna feel more tension, because you know what? It's like you no longer need to be conformed to this. You need to relinquish this. And it might be a challenge in you because you might have had some gains attached to it, whether it's resources, networks, or advantages or whatever. It's going to be challenged. Okay. So the 2 is receiving more pressure, and it's probably gonna be around predictability. There's an aspect with the 2 that wants some things to be very predictable. It's very routine based. It needs a level of structure, and that might be everything can't be overly structured. Sometimes we need more flexibility. And so there's some areas that might become a little more rigid under the 2, because it wants to keep a level of tradition, per se, if we could use a word. It's very conservative. And so, but yet it does value variety, but the parts being prick and prod is everything, the 2 wants to make sure the routines are in place so it can predict things, and it wants to have that structure where, the 5, there's an aspect to the 5 where it's a nonconformist. It floats. It's not trying to be bogged down in particular structures if it don't see the benefit of it. It values structure, but it doesn't lead with structure. Where the 2 leads with structure. The 5 is going to allow room for a lot of things to occur, and then from that, it's going to find the structure to operate in, and it's going to move forward that way. Where the 2 wants the structure first, then it'll operate. So there's 2 different angles, so that brings a conflict, but it's going to put a lot of pressure because the 2 at this month is just like, yo, can you let up from your preference? Because your preference might be in the way of your harmony that you need forward to move forward. Okay, and so with all this in mind and everything I'm saying, when we configure and we score all the energy positions and we look at the archetypes associated with it, the question comes about is, what is the universal principle that's more at play during these harmony clouds? So when we look at these 3 different harmony clouds, the principle of polarity comes forward. So basically, during these clouds, the principle of polarity is responsible for the forces behind all this going on, identifying the tension so that way it can be relieved and get to the harmony. Now, for a quick commentary for the principle of polarity. Polarity acknowledges that dualities exist in life. In other words, duality exists in life. There's opposites exist. One thing I want you to make a note, if you're taking notes about polarity, is that extremes meet. In other words, extreme things meet. And what that means is that polarity is going to come to a head when 2 extremes come together and they meet. There's your polarity. Okay. Polarity also gives us hope to recognize that all paradoxes can be reconciled. Okay. And also polarity acknowledges and brings a sensitivity for us to understand that all behaviors consist of opposites. A lot of us hear about shadow and the light side of us. That's acknowledging the polarity that a lot of us can be, that we're all prone to. No one's exempt from the polarity operating inside of us. We all, now the thing is, we might operate more on the light side versus the dark side, and some might operate more on the shadow dark side versus the light side. Okay, but at the end of the day, that polarity does exist. And polarity also acknowledges that opposites are really identical in nature, but they differ in degrees. Okay, so don't want to get too deep in all of that, but the main part I want to bring out is that polarity lets us understand that extremes meet. Okay, and I mention all this is that because it's the primary active force behind the harmony cloud. So the harmony cloud this month is highly influenced by the universal principle of polarity. And so as I close out, I want to leave y'all with some things to do during this time when the tension begins to hit, when your personal frustration begins to magnify itself. Based off of the polarity influence, here's some actions, or here's some things that we need to do to begin to move us into a different space. First of all, I want everyone to look at the point of tension. In other words, if you got conflicts going on, look at where the conflict is at. Look at where in that conflict, look at where the most intense part is. For example, let's say we're in an argument. Yeah, we're arguing, we're both passionate, we're arguing back and forth. But in that midst of the argument, you need to pay attention to where you're already intense, but where does it get more tense at? Where does the anger or you trying to prove your point becomes more dominant or more extreme? Freeze that moment right there, because that is where the polarity is at. And on the other side of polarity is your answers, is your harmony, because the polarity allows you to begin to switch it and neutralize it into a different direction. That's what I was talking about earlier about rerouting. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to look at the point of attention. I mean, not attention, but point of tension. All right, what you're going to do is you're going to invite the opposite viewpoints. A lot is going to be coming through communication. So a lot of these uproars you might experience during these 3 different clouds is going to come through, more than likely, through communication or miscommunication, I should say. So you got to have the withfall inside yourself to invite the opposite viewpoints. So that way you can see, and everyone involved can see what is happening. Invite the viewpoints, allow the anger to come up, allow the vent to come up, allow the vomit to come up, allow it to come up, but don't get lost in the vent. Don't get lost in the vomiting. Don't get lost in the anger. Make sure you have a presence of mind that you're allowing it to come forward, because a lot of your answers and the source and the nuggets for you to reroute the situation is probably going to come out there. Okay, this is one of the things I talk about and teach inside our training for intentional communication. So it applies here. All right, so once you do that, you exercise the principle of polarity. And basically what you're going to do is, I see the tension. So then what you're going to do is you're going to focus on the opposite of that tension point, and you're going to apply your focus, your energy, and you're going to apply more your focus there, because so picture a scale, right? And so the scale is unbalanced. The right hand is up higher, the left hand is up low. Once you identify the point of tension that's in the middle of both hands, you're like, oh, this is the issue right here. So you're going to focus on that issue, and you're going to look at that right hand, and you're going to start applying your focus there. And as you do that, you're going to slowly bring that right hand down. You want to get the right hand down to be even with the left hand. At that point, it's now neutral. Now, when you made everything neutral, you now have power to reroute it. So if you want to now bring what's on the left side to become more available and be your desired experience, now you're going to shift your focus there. But right now we're focused on the right hand, so we're going to stay focused on the right hand. So now, we brought the right hand down. You're like, okay, we addressed that thing. And so now you're going to amplify the left hand and make sure it rises up higher. So now you shift your focus to the left hand, and now you got the right hand at this level below the left hand. And now everything you want in that left hand is now able to be more dominant and more present. Doesn't mean that you might not visit some things that the right hand has with it, but it doesn't have power to bring the left hand down. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to switch the positions of energy in our situations, but you have to do it by identifying the point of tension, and you have to do it by allowing opposite viewpoints, allow them to come there. And then once you find out that source, you begin to look at the opposite, you begin to apply your energy and focus there, so that way, you can begin to bring that into, as you focus on that, you're going to bring the other side down. If I did not be clear on that, as you focus on that, you're going to bring that right hand down, and then you're really going to bolster that left hand side, because that's what you really want in the situation. Okay. The next thing you want to do is surrender to what you agree to, or what y'all agree to. A lot of times, man, we give so much energy to what we don't agree to with each other. So what I want you to do is, in the midst of the conflicts or whatever you got going on, look at all the things you agree to or agree with. You'll be shocked. A lot of times y'all agree with more things than you disagree. Well, if that's the case, then why in the hell are you giving all this energy to what you disagree to? Now, I do understand that some things it depends on the weight of the disagreement that has on what's agreed upon. So I'm not dismissing that, but for simplicity and for the sake of this podcast and for understanding, I think y'all get what I'm getting at, is that if you have more agreements than disagreements, why are you allowing the disagreements to have more power inside your relationship? Why are you having the disagreements to drive the infractions when you should be focused on reconciling it by focusing on what y'all agree with? It's just like the polarity factor I gave example. If I focus on what we agree more of, typically what begins to happen, beloved, is that it begins to solve the issue of what you don't agree with, just by focusing on what you agree with. Okay? And so it's important to surrender to what you agree to. And this is definitely, some of y'all in relationships, y'all got to do that. Y'all got to do this. It's because if not, if you lose that ability to do that, then your relationship is going to tank. Okay? Also, the third thing before we close out is to depersonalize who wronged you, or who, or what is wrong. Depersonalize yourself from it. So in other words, don't personalize the offense. Don't personalize the situation that happened. depersonalize yourself from it. In other words, you're detaching from it. And this will lessen your ego, all right? This will lessen your ego block. Sometimes we don't realize it, and it's all justified, right? We might, you got a right to defend yourself or whatever, but there's some areas we need to know what, don't personalize it. It ain't personal. Step back, don't personalize it, so that way you give your ego a break, okay, from the situation. And then when you do that, a lot of times the insight you need comes forward, or things become more clear because you're not hard pressed in proving a point. You're not hard pressed on how you feel, how you made me feel, and what's being done. You're able to separate from that and depersonalize it, so that we can kind of see what the whole nature of the situation really is without infusing your bias into it. Okay, so I say all that to leave you with this, is that this month is a great time to bring reconciliation in our relationships. This is a time to maybe confront the stressors, stop the cycles, let's reroute things, be more proactive, exercise your self-determination to make things happen for the benefit of you and the collective whole. It's time for you to mend the relationships, build teamwork, build camaraderie, build community. All of that is falling up under the month of May. And the biggest thing is, like I said, there is no love, y'all, without reconciliation. There is no love without forgiveness. There's no love without truth. You got to have these things in place if we want to see the love reign. We want to see also the harmony to reign. It's hard for harmony to be maintained when we cannot reconcile things when it becomes off center or when infractions have occurred. Okay, I'm not saying you get permission for all the mishaps going on, but y'all understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that can be fixed, and we need to fix it, and we need to initiate that activity to make sure those things happen. So everybody be easy, one love, and stay calm.